good morning, afternoon, or evening, and welcome to the Bloody Disgusting Network. The following show is just horrifying. Beware.
Welcome back to Horror Queers. We're talking hemorrhoids are a surprise, we're talking Yule lads, and we're talking queer icon Krampus. Because yes, I see you with your bells, your penchant for licking, and your sense of drama, girl. And I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace, and I didn't come up with a funny one, so we're talking Der Klown, which I think is just a really funny name for that Jack-in-the-Box.
That thing is fucking scary. I was originally going to include it as one of my top 3 things, because that thing is poltergeist level freaky.
This is actually, so sorry y'all, we're talking Michael Dougherty's Krampus, which makes 2 Michael Dougherty films in the span of 2 months, really.
This is true.
But we thought it'd be a really fun way to kick off December/holiday season, or Christmas season, or whatever y'all celebrate, if y'all do anything in December. I don't know. Take over, Joe.
This is true. Ironically enough, we're going to be talking about holiday films throughout most of the month. And if everything all works out, our next couple of guests after this episode will both be Jewish. So that's a fun little wrinkle in the plan.
Well, I don't know what our guest on this episode's religious affiliation is, so we'll have to ask him when he comes on. All right, everyone. Well, he is the host of the YouTube channel Bobby Likes It Spooky, which covers pretty much all things horror, from television shows to films old and new, from trailer reactions to the hottest horror news. Please welcome Bobby Torrez.
Ooh. Hey guys.
Yay.
Wow, that was great, Trace. Thank you.
Thank you.
I gotta say, the way your name rolls off the tongue kind of makes it sound a little salacious, like Bobby Likes It Spooky.
I was actually coming, when I was writing this down, I almost wrote, I did write Booby Likes It Spooky, and so...
No. Doesn't have the same ring.
It rhymes with spooky.
This is... Well,
I mean, ish.
Okay, we'll work on this, yeah.
How are you doing, Bobby?
I'm great, guys. I'm just happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course.
Especially to talk about Krampus.
Well, so
Yeah.
I was going to ask, so did Joe force Krampus upon you, or did you choose it willingly?
I chose it willingly, okay? Because once he said that he was going to send, like, the list and stuff, I said, okay, cool. And in my head, I said, I'm hoping it's a holiday horror movie in there, because if it is, the first holiday horror movie that's on there, I'm just going to grab it. And if you guys know where I got that from, then yeah. But yeah, I was happy that I seen Krampus on there, and I said I had to go for it.
So, do you have a connection to Krampus, or do you just like the movie a lot?
I do not, but I'm a fan of Michael Dougherty. I love Trick or Treat, and I just have a thing for, like, just holiday movies in general, but holiday horror movies is just it's my jam, and I love them. So when I seen that, I said yes.
Yeah, I think we'll have a lot to talk about too, like how much on the horror spectrum this falls, because I think a lot of people were expecting this to be a little bit darker than it is.
Yeah.
But, then I see a lot of people comparing it to things like Joe Dante, to something like Gremlins, which, granted, I would argue that Gremlins is a darker movie than this. But I do kind of see this in the same wheelhouse, where it's like, yeah, we're not like just straight up murdering people. Well, actually, they do in Gremlins. But but it has like a little bit of a dark edge that does feel, to me, personally, a little bit dulled. But I do still like this movie a lot.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, it's a conditional kind of yes, where if given the choice between the two, I'm going to pick Trick or Treat every time. I like Krampus, but I do feel like its impact is a little bit dulled because it is trying to go after that family-friendly-esque market.
Yeah, I mean, well, in this, I don't know if you saw this, Joe, but this might make it, make you understand it. Not like it more, but understand. So, apparently Christmas horror films are a really hard sell in the American film market. I mean, honestly, look at last year's Black Christmas.
Right.
Or don't. But Krampus was also a hard sell. Legendary Pictures, who produced it, And as we discussed in the Trick or Treat episode, that is something that Bryan Singer has a hand in.
Oh, Jesus.
It was only when they agreed to a PG-13 rating that Universal Pictures agreed to distribute it.
Yeah. It's not surprising. I mean, Bobby, you mentioned that you're a big fan of holiday horror, and I do feel like we're starting to see some of those reins get loosened a little bit, and we're seeing more diversity in terms of like, okay, we can have a zombie Christmas musical now. We can have this family-friendly option. Like, we are seeing more of them, but I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
A lot of people still look at the holidays as a bad time to open a horror movie.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a little bit more like diversity is happening when it comes down to that, but I never looked at it that way as far as maybe because I just always been a horror fan, you know, so I never really just like, oh, well, the holidays and Christmas time and all that is just for happiness and, you know, time with family, because sometimes there's a lot of horror in that, you know?
Oh my God, there's so much horror in the family, right?
Yeah, and that includes Thanksgiving, and also, as you see in this movie in the beginning, is a lot going on, so... yeah, I honestly want to see more. Like, I'm starting to see it like lift up a little bit, and starting to see a little bit more movies come out, I guess. But I want to see more. Like, I wanted to see Michael Dougherty produce a lot more holiday horror.
Yes, keep that in mind. I've got something for later with that.
I agree. I do think that this film, Joe, I'm kind of on your side here too. You know, I do like the film more than you do, but with the first act of this film, what Dougherty tried to do was like, I wanted to make like a quote unquote normal Christmas like family movie before the horror comes in. So he filmed it just like that. And so it reminded me of films like, if y'all have ever seen Jodie Foster's directorial effort Home for the Holidays with Holly Hunter. Also has queer content because Robert Downey Jr. is the gay brother. Or even The Family Stone.
Okay.
It reminded me a lot of that, but just without the queer content.
I was actually getting like National Lampoon's Christmas
Same.
Vacation. Like, this is very Christmas with the Griswolds, only instead of a squirrel in the tree, it's killer gingerbread men.
And teddy bears.
Yes.
And Der Clown.
Oh God, that fucking clown.
That thing is terrifying.
I have thoughts about that clown.
Okay, so I don't know if maybe if this is too personal, y'all can like tell me to fuck off. My family holiday gatherings aren't really like the ones present here. Like, it's basically like my immediate family, my mom, my dad, my sister, and I, and like a set of grandparents. Although now it's like one grandparent because everyone else is dead.
And we've gone dark. Thank you.
Sorry, they are dead. It's a fact, and I love them, but they're dead.
Oh no.
Have y'all had any like in your history of family holiday gatherings, be it Thanksgiving or Christmas, had something that's just been like a kind of a blow up moment? And I'm going to even wrap it around to maybe involving you or your queerness. I know, I didn't prepare y'all for this. I thought about it honestly before we got on the air.
No, it's fine.
I haven't. I mean, I had a lot of times when like my family would argue over like stupid stuff or just like past stuff, you know, my immediate family, but not necessarily over like my queerness or anything, because I never necessarily came out to my family. They just kind of knew, and it just happened. So
that's nice.
yeah, and one time I just showed up with a boyfriend. They were very you know, accepting, and I was, you know, happy to have that acceptance of my boyfriend. Yeah, I never really had any issues with like my family as far as that aspect, but they just would argue over little petty stuff that happened throughout the past year, and just dumb, unnecessary stuff where I just want to check out and just go back to my home and just like, y'all handle that. I'm over it. But this movie kind of just, when I watched it, because I've seen this movie probably in 2016 when it was released on Blu-ray or DVD. I've never seen it in theaters, but it did. Some aspects did remind me of my family as far as the beginning of the movie where you get the whole Black Friday situation, and it was times when I actually was, you know, in crowds like that with my grandmother or my mom, and seeing all the craziness and chaos happen all around me. So, yeah, I can relate to it as far as that aspect.
The holidays really bring it out in people, right? I mean, I think you touched on it, Bobby, when you said, well, there's certainly a lot of great things about the holidays, but also when you bring families together, you're going to have friction and tension, and it's not a happy thing all the time. And what I like about holiday horror in particular is that it acknowledges that sometimes getting together with your family can be a really challenging thing. And that's even just set aside the fact that some people don't have families, some people don't have families that accept them. I can say personally, the holidays have been a bit of a source of tension for me. Like, I went home for the holidays to come out to my family. So I had to have my escape plan ready to go in case it didn't work out. And I was like, well, this could be the worst fucking Christmas ever. And it ended up being okay, kind of like what you described, Bobby. My parents were actually pretty cool about it. But then, similarly, when I went to meet my now husband's family for the very first time, it was also over the holidays, and he didn't tell me until we were en route that he had never come out to them.
Oh my god, wait.
Oh my god.
So I was the coming out. I show up at the door, and it was like, this isn't a friend.
So, wait, that Clea Duvall movie that's coming out with Mackenzie Davis and Kristen Stewart, that, like, is your story.
Basically. That lesbian story is my story.
I love it.
Wait, how was that? How did that go?
I mean, my biggest source of tension around the holidays isn't the kinds of spectacular fighting that you often see in these films. It's the weird differences that happen when you mix families together. So I very much relate to the kind of extended family friction that occurs in Krampus, because my husband's family is completely different from mine. Mine is loud, boisterous, we fight, we wear our feelings on our sleeves. And my husband's family is very quiet, and they will keep everything under wraps, and like, they don't talk. So half the time I'm just chattering and yapping away, and they're all like, can someone shut this bitch up? We haven't heard this much dialogue in a year.
That's really fascinating because my family's kind of a mix of your two families. Like, we are loud, boisterous. Like, if you think I'm loud, like, you really need to meet my parents. But
invite us for a Thurman family holiday.
But we don't talk about things. Like, we will gossip endlessly about our relatives, but we don't talk about ourselves. And so
it's the surface level shit.
Yes.
Right.
I think I mentioned this before, but like, my aunts and uncles, so my parents' siblings, they're all like, for the most part, fuck ups. And so my sister and I were raised with the mentality of like, don't be like them, be good, be successful, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And so we always gossiped about our families, but we never, ever, ever faced our own demons, like, with each other. And so my thing was, and I think I mentioned this also maybe on the show before, but maybe like a long time ago or in a speed dating episode. When I came out, you know, it was not the best experience. I came out when I was 16, I went to college, and like, finally my parents just like accepted it. But I still held on to a lot of like resentment for them. And so when I was 25-ish, I went home for Thanksgiving once, and I was alone. And what happens with my family is when we start to drink more, that's obviously when the things come out.
Oh, of course, yeah.
That liquid courage.
Yeah. And so
yes, exactly.
I took my parents to task to be like, y'all said
yes.
and did all these things to me. And this is, again, like, at Thanksgiving.
Perfect timing, right?
All these things to me. And, of course, they're like, oh, I don't remember saying any of those things. I was like, well, I can promise you that 16-year-old me, they're ingrained in my brain, and you said them. So, blah, blah, blah. So it didn't make for the best holiday dinner. But, again, and this was just me and my parents and my sister at this point. But it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, well, that was the holiday that I got to, like, get everything out of my system, and, like, the 7 years of resentment that I held against my parents for, like, not reacting the best when I came out. Like, I got to finally tell them, which may not have been totally fair on my part, but
families rarely are, right? That's the problem. Like, we're related by blood, and we end up having to stick with each other, but that doesn't always mean that we get along or even have each other's best interests at heart. Family is fucked up a lot of the time.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to going home for the holidays this year, because my parents 100% both voted for Trump, and that's going to be a real fun. That's going to be a real fun thing.
I'd be like, you know, COVID gotten worse. I'm just gonna stay home. We can FaceTime.
Yeah, you're like, I can do 20 minutes on the screen with you, and then I gotta go.
Yes. You know, when I was growing up, my mom was like, I don't talk about politics. I don't say who I voted for. I don't do any of that. And I used to, like, make fun of her for it, but now I'm kind of like, oh, I get why. I totally get why. So I'm going in the mentality of, like, we're just not going to talk about politics when we go there.
Oof. Good luck with that.
Unless alcohol becomes involved, yeah.
I would like to hear, like, after the holidays, if that actually, happened.
Right, yes. Report back in January.
We'll see. But okay, yeah, so I'm sorry. So I just thought it'd be fun to have a little personal story for everyone. And listeners, by all means, also, if you have some fun holiday stories, send them to us, because I'm quite curious myself.
Right. And we'll put the fun in quotation marks. If you've got something serious that you want to share with us, of course, you're always welcome to do that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
The holidays are not an easy time for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, especially if you're queer for some people, especially if you live in the South, too, or the Midwest, or anywhere in the world.
It can just be tough. Yeah.
So moving back over to Krampus, obviously Trick or Treat was a big, it wasn't a big hit. And if
I was going to say, was it?
If y'all don't know why, you can go listen to our Trick or Treat episode, which again came out like 2 months ago. But Dougherty had always wanted...
like 5 weeks ago.
I mean, but it was October. We're in December now.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay, Trick or Treat, it was a big success in my heart. Okay, I love that movie so much.
It's a good movie, and it's very beloved by obviously the horror community. And Bobby, I actually even saw your Halloween episode on your YouTube channel. Like, you devoted it to Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because I wanted to do it last year, but last year I just felt like I just wasn't in the right headspace to go ahead and do it. But I was feeling super good, and I just got done watching the movie, and I said, you know what? Let me just hop on the camera and just dedicate and do a video to Trick or Treat, because I love that movie so much.
Yeah, you can really tell, too. Like, there's a lot of affection that comes through in that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Another reason why I picked Krampus.
Well, there you go. And I'm interested to see. I mean, we won't do a ton of comparisons because honestly, there's not much to compare. We'll see. But basically, yeah, Dougherty had always wanted to do a scary Christmas movie, but the idea didn't take form until his friend sent him an e-card featuring the Krampus creature.
Yes.
Which he fell in love with. And I actually find this kind of funny because this movie comes out in 2015, right? And I seem to recall, like, around, like, 2012, 13, 14, like, a lot of Krampus stuff making its way into mainstream media. Like, there was a Suburgatory episode that was all about Krampus whenever Malin Ackerman guest starred as Jane Levy's mom. Mm-hmm. There was an American Dad episode devoted to Krampus. Like, I just remember seeing a bunch of Krampus stuff, and I'd never heard of this creature before.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Maybe in case people don't know, here's a quick little crash course on Krampus. I mean, if you've seen the film, you'll get a relatively decent idea of who or what he is. But for those of you not in the know, he is a half goat, half demon who during the Christmas season punishes children who have misbehaved. So he's basically the dark version of Santa Claus. And some people even see him as one of St. Nicholas or St. Niklaus because he is of a Germanic/European background. Some people see Krampus as almost like not a disciple, but a companion of St. Nicholas. Like, if you're good, you get St. Nicholas, and if you're bad, you get Krampus. But he's not necessarily evil. His job is just to dole out punishment to bad shits. So, very popular in countries like Austria, Bavaria, Croatia, Hungary, and northern Italy. And he dates back to about the 17th century. And apparently, like a lot of folklore, used to be a lot more graphic and upsetting, used to keep the children in line. And that has kind of been watered down.
Wait, do you have like an example of what a graphic form of punishment was compared to what maybe it's considered now?
So Krampus has like a very distinctive look, as people know, because he's half goat, half demon. He's got the hooves and he's got horns. He's got this long tongue. He sometimes has fangs. He's got chains. There's ties to Christianity there. But I think one of the big things that people latched onto were the chains and the bells. And then he sometimes has this bag, and people would say the bad stories particularly were that if you were especially naughty that year, he would put children into the bag for either drowning them or eating them or taking them back to hell.
Oh my God.
Huh.
The drowning one is the one that's deeply upsetting to me because I think of people who put animals into bags and put them in rivers. Sorry for people who were triggered by that. But it's like drowning in a bag seems particularly upsetting.
I guess that's true, but for me, the eating is all of it's upsetting. But for me, yeah, like Krampus eating a child. The idea, like, especially if you're like swallowed whole, like if he just swallows you whole and you're just like sitting in his stomach, just slowly being digested. Ooh.
Yeah, which we more or less see in this movie in a couple of different iterations, right? That's what Der Klown clearly does to at least a couple of these children. And just for a bit of context, the film version of Krampus does include a bit of Icelandic lore. So the Dark Elves, as they're sometimes referred to, can also be known as Yule Lads, which is why I referenced them off the top. And they're part of a completely separate tradition that has like a mother and father figure who live in the hills above Icelandic towns. And then they've got these 13 kids who are Frankly, they sound like a bunch of troublemaking little shits who sneak down one per night for the 13 days before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll basically fuck around in your house if you haven't been good. So if you've been good, you can leave your shoe out and they will leave you a present. If you've been bad, they will leave you a potato. But also, if they find like open windows and stuff, they'll go in and they will steal your food. They will steal your cooking supplies. They'll steal your candles. And they all have very amusing names like Sheepcoat Clod and Gully Gawk and Stubby and Spoon Liquor. The one that's important to us is... Yes, very comical. The one that's relevant to us is actually Meat Hook, because
Wow.
when we see the meat hook come down the chimney with the gingerbread man attached to it, that is a representation of Meat Hook, because he will steal your meat if you leave it out.
Mm.
See,
Wow.
I have things to say about that scene too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's awesome. Thank you, Joe.
That's your crash course. Oh, and actually the timing of this particular episode is very good because the official day for Krampus's visit is December 5th.
Well, so that's actually why the film was supposed to come out like November 25th, so like around Thanksgiving, but they pushed it back to December 4th to tie in with that.
Like anyone fucking knows that. I love that they rearranged the release date for a date that no one knows.
The thing is, I actually think that the film might have performed better had they released it for Thanksgiving, because a lot of times you see Christmas movies, I mean, I could say holiday, but really it's Christmas movies, released that Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Won't be happening this year, unfortunately, but
No.
But yeah, I think that honestly hurt it. So basically, Krampus is, they film it from March to May 2015. The creature effects are done with, I'm going to say Weta. It might be Weta Workshop, but it's the Peter Jackson one that he uses for like Lord of the Rings and a bunch of other shit.
It is Weta.
Okay, Weta. But they released it
no
December...
shit. It is Weta.
Okay.
The Weta Workshop.
Universal Pictures releases this on December 4th, 2015. We've got a budget of $15 million. Now...
It's pretty cheap.
But and we've got a runtime of 98 minutes. So it's a nice breezy little movie. It opens in the number 2 slot, and here's maybe the sticking point. It opens up behind Mockingjay Part 2, which is in its, I want to say, like, second or third weekend of the box office.
Okay.
It makes $16.3 million. So it does make its production budget back immediately, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
It goes on to make $42.7 million domestically with international gross of $18.8 million. So we got a worldwide gross of $61.5 million. So it does well.
It's totally not bad. I remember thinking that it did far worse than that.
Yeah, I think it's just like, it was solid, if unremarkable.
Right. But I mean, what are we expecting from a holiday horror film? Like $100 million gross is out of the question.
True.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I never understand what the pundits or like the studio heads are looking for. I mean, I appreciate that that's not box office shattering world records. But at the same time, I'm also looking at this cast, and to us, this cast is great. But there aren't big names. Like, if you're thinking about for the general public, they're not saying like, oh, Adam Scott and Toni Collette, gotta rush to the theaters to see that one.
Right.
Even Allison Tolman, like, this is like right after Fargo season 1, and so I'm like, oh my god, Allison Tolman's in a movie? Let's go!
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like, that is not the popular reaction. These are all character actors and or who?
Yeah, I mean, this is like Adam Scott at peak of Parks and Recreation. Toni Collette, what is she doing right now?
Like at this time?
No, like at this time. Obviously, people know who Toni Collette is, but it's like one of those things where it's like, if you ask like a Joe Nobody, oh, you know who Toni Collette is?
No. Australian chick? No.
Some people still don't even know she's the mom in The Sixth Sense.
Oh, I mean, that's like a bit of a
deep cut.
Yeah. I have a confession. I literally found that out like maybe a few months ago because I haven't seen The Sixth Sense in a very long time.
Yeah,
and when I watched it, I was like, Toni Collette, she was in this. And I just got super excited. I'm like, how can I forget?
It's not a showy kind of role. Like, it's a great role for her, but it's not the part of the movie that you remember because you're too busy focusing on Haley Joel Osment.
I want to say, though, and I could be wrong, I'm not going to look it up because I'm just going to go with it, but I want to say she actually got an Oscar nomination for that role.
She did.
Specifically for the scene in the car when Haley Joel Osment's telling her about her mother.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a fantastic fucking scene for her.
Yeah. So I'm looking at her filmography, and this is definitely a low point in her filmography. So she had done Fright Night in 2011.
Ooh, yeah.
She had done that terrible Hitchcock movie. She was in a short-lived TV show called Hostages, which is also unfortunately not very good.
Yeah.
And then it's like this, and then after this, that Triple X sequel. Oh,
She's
wow.
in the Triple X sequel?
Yeah, The Return of Xander Cage. So the one where fucking Vin Diesel comes back.
The third one.
So bad. It's so bad. I don't recommend it to
Wait.
anybody unless...
Okay, I'm sorry. We can cut this out, but I will have you know that Matt Donato has tried to get me to watch that movie 1,000 times. Like, people love that movie.
Oh, it's stupid bad, though.
Is it, is Nina Dobrev in that?
She is, yeah. She's actually one of the better parts in it.
Wait,
the
Nina
hacker.
Dobrev from
Yeah.
Degrassi?
Yes.
Wait, she's in Degrassi?
Oh, yeah, she's Canadian.
I didn't know she... I'm like, Vampire Diaries. That's
Yeah.
what I know her from.
That's the go-to for most people. That's Bobby, I love you for that reference. Thank you so much.
Well,
You're not
I'm a
even
huge
Canadian.
Degrassi fan, so we can talk
That's
about
so
Degrassi
funny.
all day.
So good.
When I think of Toni Collette, I think about The Sixth Sense. I think about Muriel's Wedding, but again, that's like 90s. And I think about her really brief like cameo as a closeted lesbian in The Hours.
Oh, okay. That's a bit of a deep cut, too.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
because I'm looking here. It's basically, you should be thinking, according to IMDb, About a Boy from 2002,
Oh,
Little Miss
right.
Sunshine, 2006.
Oh,
and then,
right.
obviously, Hereditary, Sixth Sense.
You know what we're forgetting? The 3 seasons of United States of Terror.
Yes, I was about to say
Yes,
that. I
yeah,
said
yeah.
that's when I was first really introduced to her.
She's so
United
fucking
States of
good.
Terror.
That's 2009 to 2011.
And that's also when the world was introduced to Brie Larson.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell both of well, Joe, you probably see Muriel's Wedding, but Bobby, you should really seek out Muriel's Wedding. It is a fantastic comedy from Australia, or maybe New Zealand. I don't really know.
Australia.
From like the late 90s, and it's amazing. It is amazing.
It's her
Writing it
big
down
breakout.
right now.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, David Koechner, Conchata Farrell, who's also a character actress.
She's so fucking funny in this movie.
Oh, she's great. I feel like she was targeting the 2.5 Men crowd, even though for me, she's always the woman from Mr. Deeds.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There we go. That'll work, too.
Mr. Deeds.
I love Mr. Deeds. Whenever Winona Ryder kicks her in the vagina and she's like, "What are you doing? I ain't got no balls."
Okay.
Have you not
That's
seen
a
Mr.
thing
Deeds?
I wasn't expecting to hear tonight.
Mr. Deeds is really good. Oh, I want to watch that now. Sorry.
God. Pay attention.
Anyway, okay, sorry. So speaking of a solid if unremarkable, going back to before this conversation happened,
Mm-hmm.
this movie also has for reviews solid if unremarkable reviews.
Yeah.
We're looking at a 66% on Rotten Tomatoes with an average score of 6.1 out of 10 and a Letterboxd score of 6 out of 10. So it's kind of one of those things where I feel like people are like, "Oh yeah, it's good. It's not great. It's good." But I've also talked to people who fucking adored this movie.
Yeah, I feel like the people who like this movie quite like it, and then the rest of us think it's fine. I never mind watching this film, but I feel like every time I watch it, I just want it to be a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, it's that dark edge you're missing, right? Like, I honestly, and we'll get to it when we talk about the ending, I do like the fact that people are essentially dying in this movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all the way through, too.
But then you have the ending that kind of undoes it, and I'm sure we'll talk about how we all interpret that ending, too, once we get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little controversial.
I don't have anything else, so, I mean, do you want to just go in?
All right. So after the Frozen Universal logo, always love it when they do this.
I love adjusted, like, not adjusted, but, what would we call it?
Film specific.
Yeah, modified film-specific studio logos. It's my favorite.
Super catchy. There's the tagline for this episode.
He apparently wanted to use the 80s Universal logo, but either it didn't happen or they said no.
I mean, that is a really important point. Bobby, you and I zeroing in on National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Like, this film does feel like that Joe Dante National Lampoon's, like, at that time period. This film could be from that, only with obviously upgraded effects.
Yes.
Well, I actually wonder, so do y'all think, maybe this is more of a question for Joe. Joe, do you think that you would like this movie more if it did exist in the 80s, if this was an 80s, if this movie as it is?
Like a period piece in the 80s?
Well, no, but like if this movie like was made in the 80s and like we're talking about this now as like a 35-year anniversary or whatever movie, do you think you would like it more if it was something that was a product of the 80s as opposed to a product of 2015?
Quite possibly, yeah. I mean, I think that this might work a little bit better as a nostalgic property.
Mm-hmm.
I think also then we would get around some of the lack of darkness because, of course, films could get away with more back then.
Right.
Can I answer that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, even though I do love this film, I feel like if it was a product of the 80s, it would, like Joe said, it would get away with a lot more, especially with a lot more practical effects, because this movie relies heavy on CGI. And all of it is not terrible, because they do use a lot of practical effects in this too. But I think that's why we love a lot of 80s movies, just because it was no CGI. It was all practical, and it was a lot darker in cheese.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like if it was the 80s, I feel like the Gingerbread Man would have been stop motion.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying, Bobby, and I do think, and I mean, again, I know we're talking about it ahead of time, but I think the reason that I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. I really like it, but it's like, it doesn't quite hit greatness for me, because we get these takes, these amazing practical effects. Like, we get this Your Clown, and I'm like, holy fuck, that's awesome. But I almost feel like because they can't show it moving that much, we don't get enough of it. So we get the montage in the end of the second act of this movie of like all the mayhem happening, and I want more of that, and then the end of the movie doesn't really deliver on it.
Yeah, I think for me, part of it is that there just aren't the same stakes. Like, seeing people get whisked away doesn't pack the same kind of punch.
Seeing a child get eaten.
A little bit. I'm like, you know what? I need just a touch of gore here to confirm that these people aren't just being, you know, like when somebody gets gobbled up by a giant fucking clown, maybe spit out a finger. I don't know.
Okay, I mean, we don't need that, but we'll talk about it when we get there. But put that in your back pocket.
All right.
Fingers.
I'll put fingers into my back pocket. Yes. All right. So we open on a slow motion scene of holiday shopping violence to the tune of Bing Crosby's It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas. And this initially just seems like we're seeing mayhem in a shopping mall, but it actually wraps up and we're introduced to the central members of the family. So we see Beth, played by Stefania Levy Owen, and she is recording workaholic dad Tom, played by Adam Scott, and OCD mom Sarah, played by Toni Collette, as they rush to the stage to break up a fight between their son Max, who is played by MJ Anthony, and some other kid. And we'll later find out that this is all about the existence or lack thereof of Santa Claus.
Yeah, Max is pretty old to still believe in Santa Claus.
Yeah.
It's weird because there's a suggestion that he does know that Santa's not real, and yet he refuses to give it up. And you're like, okay, but that doesn't make sense entirely, because if you know something's not real, then that means you already know it's not real.
There's a lot of talk of Christmas spirit, and I think that's the idea, is like he knows Santa isn't real, but he still goes along with it because it's keeping the Christmas spirit alive.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking that, cause especially when I'm sorry, I jumped in the head, but when they get back home and he wanted to like watch Charlie Brown and all that other stuff, it seems like he was so into the holiday. And yeah, I feel like he just want to keep the Christmas spirit alive, regardless if he believed in Santa or not.
Yep.
And that does make sense, right? I mean, one of the things that people gravitate to around the holidays is the idea of Christmas traditions. So people like to do things the same way. They like to have a certain sense of order. And part of that is because the holidays can be very chaotic, but it's also, there's a sense of certainty where you say like, oh, I know that this is going to happen. Like we open the gifts in a certain way, or we do this on a certain night. I like the idea of tradition. And I think it also puts the film in the context of what Dougherty was trying to do, which is like, you know, It's a Wonderful Life and A Christmas Carol, where you've got a holiday theme about people giving back and recognizing the power of the season with a bit of a dark edge.
Yeah.
Mm.
That was a long diatribe. Let's move on. All right. So I do think that this is a bit of a fun way to open the film, though, and it kind of plays on our expectations. This is a familiar world. We've all seen this kind of footage before.
Yeah. It always reminds me of that episode of Scream Queens, whenever Emma Roberts, and they have like the Black Friday thing, but Emma Roberts' character, Chanel, she like pays the malls to let her get in an hour early, and she just buys everything and like looks at all the people that are like trying to get in, and she's like, oh my god, look, I'm buying your stuff.
God.
It's so funny.
That character is such a great bitch. This movie could have done with an Emma Roberts. I really thought that Beth was being positioned to be the kind of family bitch, and it's weird to me that she gets killed first.
It is, and when we get to it, I will say that I actually really like her scene, but we'll get there.
No, I agree. Okay, So, following a fade to black with the title card, the family returns home to find Tom's Austrian mother, Omi, played by Krista Stadler, and she is baking cookies in advance of the arrival of Sarah's abrasive family. And here we go. This family includes Sister Linda, played by Allison Tolman, hick husband Howard, played by David Koechner.
David Koechner playing, like, every character he's ever played.
So stereotypical for him. This was not a character stretch at all.
No. They probably wrote this with him in mind, to be honest.
I think I read that in the trivia that they might have.
Oh, that's possible. P.S. Joe, we'll be watching him again in Final Destination 5 on Sunday.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I was just watching it as well, and I was like, oh, who's on Krampus?
I literally have face blindness for adults in the Final Destination films.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
Okay, and then we've got the kids. So we've got gluttonous mute Howie Jr., played by Averick Nope. Averick, what the?
I'm sorry, gluttonous mute. That's a really good way of putting it.
I kept waiting for this kid to say something, and then I realized he never says a single thing the entire film.
He's always eating.
Yeah, well, this is the idea. Yeah.
He remind me of that kid from Trick or Treat, the one that was smashing all the pumpkins and stuff.
Yes. Dougherty likes a fat kid
Curly
with curly hair.
redhead kid. Yeah.
What does this say about him? We also have these coded lesbian twins, Jordan, played by Queenie Samuel, and Stevie, played by Lolo Owen.
Ugh.
I don't know why I'm acting like this is like a big reveal, but I was like, oh, I wrote 2 lesbian girls.
It's important to acknowledge that this film is playing with very broad tropes. So, you know, when David Koechner shows up, you're like, oh yeah, okay, I know this character. He doesn't even really need to say anything because I know the type. And when these 2 girls show up and they're into hockey and wrestling, you're like, yeah, we got it.
I think Allison Tolman's the only one that isn't really in a stereotype, per se. Like, she doesn't have, like, a broad caricature for herself. She's just the mom with a bunch of kids who's married to David Koechner.
Right. Yeah. And I do like that there's efforts given as the film progresses to flesh out some of these remaining characters, like the people who can survive longer get some moments of humanity so that they're not quite as on the surface as they appear to be in this initial scene.
Bobby.
Yeah.
Could you tell me any of these kids' names?
Pop quiz.
I literally have like lesbian girl. I got Max.
Yeah, I think one is named Stevie and Stevie and
Correct.
Jordan. There we go.
Correct,
Stevie
correct.
and Jordan.
Well done, well done. You did better than me because if I had not been writing this, I would not. Girl 1, girl 2.
Girl.
Butch and Butcher.
Butch and
Oh,
Butcher.
dear.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and then we also have drunk Aunt Dorothy, played by Conchata Ferrell, and then we also have a baby in the mix that just keeps getting forgotten.
And does
Yeah.
get killed at some point.
Yes.
R.I.P. Kachata.
I was to say, like,
so good.
R.I.P., yeah, we should acknowledge that she has died literally in the past couple months, and it's very sad.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know. That's sad.
Yeah, she, in mid-October, I think, died from, I want to say a heart attack, but it's really unfortunate because she's a very good comedic actress.
Yes. Yeah, she definitely helps me to get through this early part of the film. You know, I love me
She's
an
you.
old lady drunk. I mean, I'll take it. Yeah, if I can be an Aunt Dorothy, sure, I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the thing that gets me with her is when she's like, you know I don't like kids. I'm like, yes!
Relatable.
She said, I didn't even like him when I was one.
That is a fantastic line. Love it.
I would want to hang with her if I was a kid. And even though she probably wouldn't
Right?
like
Oh,
me,
yeah.
I would still like to hang with her.
Yeah, you kind of lurk off to the side and hope she kind of doesn't notice you, but also you're taking notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slip me a drink. I mean, come on.
Yeah, so this early part of the film is really just about establishing the family dynamics, and shockingly enough, there's a bunch of petty family squabbles. So we're firmly into uncomfortable family holiday territory with this. My favorite line, Aunt Dorothy says, "Who doesn't bake a ham for Christmas? What are you, a Jew?"
Oh my
I wrote that
gosh.
down,
I didn't
too.
know how to feel
Oh.
about that.
Aunt Dorothy. No with the anti-Semitism.
I was like, yeah, it's your anti-Semitic aunt. I do love the it's a little dry stuff over the roast. The lesbian girls calling Max Maxi Pad, like,
Yeah. It's just a lot of microaggressions.
yeah, 100%. And that's what I'm saying, you know, like, that's what you get when you have big family gatherings.
Or sometimes small ones.
Or sometimes small ones. Yeah, that's true. Except for Bobby.
Except for Bobby. Bobby's over there living a charmed life. You bastard.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it wasn't all rainbows and roses, y'all, but no.
You've just come out the other side and you're like a well-adjusted man. Okay, so it doesn't take long before this erupts into full-blown violence, because as we've established, Max is actually quite a bit of a hothead when pressed, so he gets very upset when Jordan and Stevie read his confessional letter to Santa, and later on, at night, in frustration, he rips up the letter and he throws it into the night, and we've got this dark cloud.
Can I say something about the fight?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yes.
I got very frustrated, actually, when first of all, when he took the note from him and was reading it, and his sister, Max's sister, was just sitting there, like, stopping him from, like, doing anything. She was just sitting there letting these kids just embarrass him and just make fun of him. And I was just like, as an older sister, I feel like you should have more control over that instead of them doing it to your little brother.
I agree with you, because even the dad, Adam Scott, does that kind of a thing where they're like, don't do anything. And it's like, yeah, but these bitches are like, I know we've been selective about using the C word, Joe, but they are cunts.
No, they are. Oh my gosh.
I know, we kind of like, I know we're like going through the plot, but like we glossed through the payoff of like, he wrote in his note, like, oh, even though the girl's dad wished that they were boys, and that's what sets them off.
When he lost it. Mm-hmm.
That's a really good moment, and that's not even what sets off the fight, because honestly, I feel like they should be the ones to set off the fight for that remark in his note, but it's him. It's still on him for starting the fight. And that's what's really upsetting to me about it.
Yeah.
Well, because a lot of the letter is actually comprised of truths. Like, the moment that hits me is when he says, I can't remember which coupling he says it about, but he wishes that they would fall back in love with each other.
His parents.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh my God, can you imagine being a little kid? That is such a child thing that you would wish for at Christmas. And to just have that read out loud, it's so uncomfortable.
But that's actually something like, I mean, I know we're in like a 98-minute movie here, but like, I actually wouldn't have minded like those revelations from that letter had time to breathe and like have like the reactions to everybody and being like, Max, what are you saying? And, or like, you know, Linda and Howard are like having problems with money and blah, blah, blah. Like, I actually wouldn't have minded to like have those longer character beats for that. And this movie does kind of rush past it.
Well, yeah, because we got to get to the action, right?
It's
the problem with North American horror films in general. It's like, well, when's that first body going to drop? You're thinking, well, but I need to care about these people before I can care whether one of them dies.
Maybe they were trying to do the whole Home Alone thing, because you remember in Home Alone when, you know, Buzz was like picking on Kevin, and then the whole family just was like targeting him the whole entire time, even though Buzz was an asshole.
Yes.
That makes sense, Bobby. I have a similar issue with Home Alone because I don't love that movie like everyone else does, and that's my hang-up, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really astute observation. Now that I'm thinking about this is 100% the dinner scene from Home Alone.
Yeah.
I do agree. I would have liked a little bit more with these folks, because really at this point, we are in it. You know, the minute he rips out that letter and throws it out, we've got that dark cloud that comes, the score swells. I do wish the score was a little bit better in this movie as well.
Fuck you. No. I love Douglas Pipes' score for this movie.
So do I.
No, this is like, I walked out of the theater and I immediately bought this album on iTunes because I loved how it blends like Christmas carols with, I actually wrote this down, with pagan music thrown in, and he throws in chains, bells, bones, and animal skin drums into the score. So it's like Home Alone meets Joe, as you said, The Witch, and it's a really fun combination of that. But my issue is I do think that the score is darker than what we're seeing happen on screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I found like it only really felt prominent in this moment and then in the climax when Max is confronting Krampus.
No. It's all there.
Okay.
It's there in the action scenes too. It's a really, really good score. Der Klown has his own theme and it's great.
Okay.
Oh my
Well,
God.
in that case, I stand corrected. This score is great, y'all.
You don't have to think that. I'm glad that Bobby's on my side, but you don't have to agree with me. I'm just saying I do love this score a lot. I actually think it's better than the Trick or Treat score because Douglas Pipes also did Trick or Treat.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's because it's using Christmas carols that I'm familiar with and like warping them into these weird like Krampus-y things.
Right.
But I do find this score very memorable compared to the Trick or Treat score.
Okay.
I'm on the opposite on that one, man.
Ah!
I'm
No,
sorry.
green bin.
And I'm not being biased, but I don't know.
No, it's okay.
Everybody gets a favorite.
Yeah, we do. You like Trick or Treat, I like this, and Joe likes
So,
nothing.
like, neither.
Cannot be satisfied. Okay, so the family awakens on December 23rd. I do like the touch of the advent calendar doors opening to signify the change in dates. That's a fun little touch. All right, so they wake up and there is a big-ass blizzard outside and there is no power. I do enjoy the line where Howard says, well, what are we going to eat? And Sarah says, well, there's all those leftovers. And he just has this look that says, oh, no.
He said, I guess I'll have a beer. No, he said beer it is.
But the thing is, though, there's no power. That refrigerator's not working. So
Right,
all those
so it's gonna
leftovers
go
are
bad.
not cold. Yeah, they're bad.
They've got to eat all that food before it spoils. Although the implication in this film is that that blizzard is so cold that they could actually get hypothermia and die if they're not careful.
I actually love the way that the outside looks in this movie. I think the street scenes are really well done. Like, I mean, there's
Same.
not a lot of geography here. Like, it's all done on a soundstage.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it looks really cool.
Yeah. And being as though it's a blizzard, you don't really need a lot going on outside because you can't really see shit anyway. It's just lots of snow,
Yeah.
wind, houses, and Krampus jumping roof to roof.
Love
Oh yeah, y'all would know better
it.
than I do because we don't get blizzards in Texas.
I was going to say, you don't even know what this is like.
Ah.
Bobby and I are like, let us tell you about storms.
Yeah.
I remember on the first watch, so I saw this in theaters, and I was really confused by these scenes. So basically what ends up happening is Beth ventures out into the storm because she has to go check on her dumb stoner boyfriend, Derek,
Oh,
who lives
my
a couple
God.
blocks away. These two are terrible. The parent in me stepped in and thought, Beth, no, this guy's not going to be good for you.
What parent allows their child to go out in a blizzard like that? To check
Yeah.
on their boyfriend.
Adam
My
Scott.
mother would be like, no, you staying your ass in the house. I don't care. He got his own family. He'd be okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Or like take a parent with you.
Exactly. You letting this girl go out in a blizzard. You can't even see anything out there. And you let her go on adventures by herself. Wow.
Yeah. But I remember when I saw this in the theaters that when she's walking down the street, the houses are completely frozen over. And because I live in Canada and I go through winter every year, it took me out of the film briefly because it doesn't look realistic at all. And, you know, when you get to the end of the film and you realize what's happening, oh, it makes a lot of sense. But in this moment, the first time viewing, I just looked at it and thought, no, this doesn't work for me. This isn't realistic at all. Like, what the fuck's happening here?
Well, I do appreciate that it becomes kind of like they're isolated in like their own alternate universe type thing.
Mhm.
Apparently, original outlines for the film felt quote unquote too much like a horror film and relied on Krampus picking people off throughout the town, which we do get a hint of that later when they go to the boyfriend's house.
Yeah.
Which honestly doesn't make sense with the film we have. Because it's like, okay, well, Krampus is targeting this family, but oops,
Right.
no, he's also getting everyone in this town and also freezing the mailman in his van.
Mhm.
So you could blame Max for everybody's demise.
Yeah, like Max
Right.
killed all these people.
Yes.
Well, unless you believe that Max is the gateway, and then, well, Krampus is there. He's like, cool, it's December 5th. I'm just going to go around. Naughty, 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 got you, and I'm good to go.
Maybe. I mean, the movie doesn't explain it, so it's just like, all right, well, take it for what it is.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a holdover from an earlier draft of the script, maybe when he was operating on a bigger geography.
For sure.
Yeah.
But this scene, this whole Beth sequence,
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing to it apart from the fact that she is stalked as Krampus jumps from rooftop to rooftop. But I love the hint of a reveal, but not really. So, we can clearly see this is not a human being. We can clearly see it's very tall. We do get the robe, the chains, the cloven hooves, and then she's eventually attacked by a jack-in-the-box. But even that, we don't get a good sense of what's happened.
Even that shot of when she sees him on the roof for the first time, like, it's
so creepy.
Yeah, right? It's really creepy and it's really good.
Yes.
It does set a tone for something creepier that I don't think the movie delivered. I realize that I'm coming down on this film a lot. And again, I like it. But it's one of those things where I'm like, this scene is setting up something for me that I don't think the movie really continues on that path with. But I love this scene. I think it's great.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially the Warren, like when he's like jumping and you just hear like that.
Oh, yeah.
Warren, I'm just like, I don't know. I just got goosebumps here. Right now, I got goosebumps.
Nice. Yeah, this is a really, really effective scene. And I think it's a good first set piece. It's also unexpected. I didn't think that Beth would be the one to go because she doesn't seem like an obvious pick.
Right. Well, yeah, because honestly, I wonder if the idea was like, in a horror movie, the final girl is the teenage daughter. So they wanted to get her off first. I mean, I don't think it has that effect where it's like, I'm so shocked by this. But kind of?
A little bit. The minute that she wanders off by herself, you think, okay, well, she's probably done for. But also, it is surprising that of all the characters, Beth is kind of inconsequential. Maybe that's why they go for her, because she's just not that big of a personality. Right. But still surprised.
Even though I liked her a little better in this film, but I used to watch Carrie Diaries, and she played the little annoying sister to Carrie Bradshaw on the Carrie Diaries, and I'm just sure you guys watched that.
No, I didn't, but I saw that, and I was really curious. So that you have seen that, by all means, enlighten us.
Oh, well, yeah, because I'm like, all right, because I used to watch, like, Gossip Girl, 90210. You guys can obviously edit this out.
No, we watch Gossip Girl.
We will absolutely not.
And I was a fan of the CW, Vampire Diaries, all that fun stuff.
We love the CW.
And the Carrie Diaries was on there, and I was like, all right, I like Sex and the City, so let me give this a try. And I said, this is a cute little teen show. And she played the younger sister to Carrie Bradshaw, and she was such a bitch for no reason. So when I seen that she was in this movie, I said, ooh, I hope she get it good in this movie. And then I started to like her a little bit. And she does. She does.
It's always so satisfying when you can see a person from one property get horrifically murdered in another property, because you're like, yeah, fuck you. You finally got what's coming to you.
I do like that we get like Der Klown, because this is Der Klown that gets her.
Presumably, yeah. I mean, he's the Jack-in-the-Box, but we don't see him in full form.
According to Wikipedia, it is Der Klown, because we do see his like hands kind of come out, and we see the top of his little gesture happen, and it cuts away before he actually fully emerges from the box.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that's what made become the big Jack-in-the-Box that he is after he eats her, maybe?
Oh, like he's had a full meal, so he gets a bit bigger?
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming.
Were y'all not wanting them to cut open this Jack-in-the-Box and spill out the kids?
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Yes.
But also, Bobby, now I'm just loving this idea that the Jack-in-the-Box got Beth bloat. Oh, I had too much Beth, and now I'm so bloated. Oh, the holidays, why do I do this? Okay, so Beth is dead. And that means that Tom and Howard realize that they need to go out and find her. And Omi says, no, you should not go outside. They, of course, ignore her because who's going to listen to an old lady? So they go outside. They find an abandoned snowplow. They get to Derek's house. It is trashed and completely frozen. And then Howard is bitten by something under the snow and nearly dragged away.
Do y'all like the sequence?
I loved it.
I don't mind it. My issue is that it's very reminiscent to me of a Canadian sci-fi film called Screamers from the late 90s.
Okay, see, I was going to go with Tremors, but okay.
Tremors, yeah.
I mean, Tremors is like just the bigger U.S. property of it. But
yeah, but it was 1990, so it was before your Screamers.
Well, Screamers is based on a Philip K. Dick novel, which is quite a bit older.
God damn it, Joe!
I win, you lose. Suck it, suck it, suck it. But yeah, I mean, I love the idea of something under the surface. It's just horrifying.
Dragging you away and
I wish we
got
to see what it was, though, right?
Yeah, like you wish you could see what it was. Presumably, it's just a dark elf, but I would have loved to see teeth or maybe a little blood.
I actually prefer them going through the boyfriend's house. That's where we are, right? Like it's like right before this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love seeing the cracked chimney, seeing the gingerbread man stabbed. Again, it doesn't really make a lot of sense given the plot of the film and what we know about it. It does feel like a leftover from an earlier draft, but that feels very eerie to me. And I do love this trimmersy / screamersy thing that's happening.
Yeah, it's fun, particularly now. When we get later, it feels a little bit overplayed. Like when we're losing 3 or 4 characters to the same thing, it's a bit old. But early on, we have no idea what's happening, so it's confusing and exciting and interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, they also realize that their car has been destroyed, so they don't have a way to get off the street and escape from the blizzard, even if they wanted to. So they manage to get back, and of course Howard is bleeding profusely, so the kids and Aunt Dorothy go to get drunk in the kitchen.
Apparently they were worried about a child drinking an alcoholic beverage to get an R rating. Like, they were worried about that.
Are you serious?
Not even joking.
MPA.
Oh my gosh.
As opposed to, their clown swallowing a child.
Right.
Well, that's fantasy.
Yeah, that's something.
They are sequestered in the kitchen getting drunk. This is when Omi tells Tom to keep the fire lit at all times. They tend to Howard's wounds.
They don't listen to that shit for a second, by the way.
Not even. No, because, of course, they immediately then hunker down and go to sleep, and the fire goes out. So this is when we get our friend. So this is Meat Hook and or Ket Croker, aka the hook that comes down to get the meat, and he has tied a gingerbread man to the hook so that we can lure in Howie Jr., who takes a bite at the gingerbread man, who screams, and then he is immediately dragged up and away through the chimney.
I really like the setup for this. I think this is really cool. I also think it's shot really well, from the back of the fireplace when you see the hook drop down. I don't know why more people don't wake up.
Right.
The only person that was up was the baby. Because if you look, the baby was just looking at the chimney, I believe. But everybody else was asleep. And I mean, I understand what's his name was supposed to stay up because he was on lookout or whatever.
Howard.
Yeah, Howard. But I expected Omi to at least stay up because she seemed more,
Right, this bitch knows what's going on.
Yeah, so I didn't expect her to fall asleep, So I was surprised at that.
Yeah, why doesn't she tell them, by the way, you guys, you may not believe it, but Krampus is coming.
She's like, okay, I gotta lose at least one child or else they're not gonna believe this. So I'm gonna let the meat one go, and then they're gonna believe me after this. Yeah, this sequence is really good. Toni Collette comes out of it looking absolutely trashed. The tree is lit on fire, which I think is the other reason that I definitely thought of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, because the tree is so prominently lit on fire in that.
I'm gonna make a confession to y'all.
You haven't seen it, have you?
No, I have. Okay. I wasn't allowed to watch National Lampoon's anything growing up because my parents didn't like quote unquote silly humor, so I couldn't watch National Lampoon because it was always silly humor.
Yes.
My husband made me watch Vegas Vacation 3 years ago, and I was like, this isn't very good, but he loves it. And so then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna watch Vacation because the new one was coming out with Christina Applegate and Ed Helms, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch Vacation.
Right.
I didn't quite get the appeal, and so then my husband made me watch Christmas Vacation, and I was like, I don't get why everyone likes this. I don't understand these movies. I don't think they're that funny. They honestly make me very angry.
I mean, I think deliberately so. Yeah.
They do. And so I'm almost mad again at my parents for not letting me watch it, because I feel like if I'd seen them as a kid, I might be like, oh, they're really fun and stupid. Whereas honestly, watching them between the ages of 27 and 31, I'm just kind of like,
yeah,
I really don't like these movies.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. Because I kind of grew up watching those too. I watched around Christmas time. It was that one, and obviously Charlie Brown. Mm-hmm. My favorite Christmas movie is Scrooge with Bill Murray.
Oh yes!
Oh my god!
And I watched that every damn year.
That's a dark one too.
Oh, it's really dark. Yeah.
Confession: I was actually watching it before I got on with you guys. But yeah. National Lampoon's was definitely a favorite. But I get what you're saying, Trace. If you watch it as an adult, you kind of just this is silly and stupid. I don't get the appeal to it.
Yeah, you don't have the nostalgic appeal that other people do see.
I don't mean to shit on anyone who still likes it. Maybe if you saw it as an adult and you did like it, but it's just one of those things where it's it's just a bunch of like what could go wrong does go wrong, and that doesn't equal funny. That's not funny for me. Like that's just very much like, oh, this is very frustrating to watch.
Yeah, I will confess that Clark Griswold is identical to my father. Chevy Chase could be my dad in that movie. It's
my God.
terrifying.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you think that's uncomfortable, try living it.
I'm so sorry.
Well, you've explained yourself to me a lot.
Oh, my dad is a barrel of laughs and also super racist and also super misogynist.
Oh my god, my dad's a racist too!
Yay! Fuck. This is why we become well-adjusted adults, is because we have to compensate for our parents who are like...
But my dad grew up in, like, Podunk, Louisiana, so while I don't excuse his racism, I understand his racism. Like, I understand where it comes from. Does Canada have, like, a racist section?
Yeah. We like to pretend that we're not racist, and then we basically hate on
Bobby,
indigenous people.
tell us your thoughts about racism.
Everybody settle in for a 3-hour... No.
Spotlight.
No, this is funny. I was
at
at work the other day, and I don't know, I was talking to a lady that came into my job, and she was just talking about moving. I was like, yeah, I want to move to Canada, but I want to visit first. And she literally says in front of everybody, there's no black people in Canada. I was just like, what?
Oh
like, first of all, you're wrong.
Yes.
And two, like, why? Like, how did you come to that? Like, what? I was so confused.
You're like, cool, bitch. I'm gonna be a trailblazer. Bye.
Right. I mean, this lady is blunt. Like, I deal with her like all the fucking time. But like, when she said that, I was like, wow, okay, get out my store.
I'm sorry you had to deal with that.
Yeah,
no, it's fine. It didn't offend me at all. Actually, it's fine. I heard
You're just
worse.
like, oh wow, people are so misinformed and stupid and blunt.
Yep, very much so.
Oh my god.
Times.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Well, we're white, so.
I mean, we literally don't have to deal with that because anyway. Yeah. So I love that after all of this, Omi relights the fire. She's like, cool, we're down one kid. I'm just going to relight this fire.
Also, let me tell you this claymation story about my life.
Yeah, we've got this beautiful animated flashback. I really like this. I completely forgot about this until this rewatch.
Yeah,
I heard mixed stories about like this. Like some people like enjoyed it and some people didn't. I enjoyed it because it kind of referenced back to all the claymation Christmas movies that we used to watch as a kid.
No, like the Rudolph or the Mr. Heat Miser, Mr. Snow, Frosty the Snowman.
Exactly.
I hate all of those.
Yeah, Trace hates claymation.
It really creeps me out. I don't think it's cute. I think it's very disturbing. And so watching this brought me back to being like a child watching fucking Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and being like, I feel so uncomfortable watching this because I am creeped the fuck out.
Oh my gosh. I can see how you were scared, but I used to love them.
Yeah, because you're a regular person. You're not like some weird traumatized kid over in the corner like Trace.
It's not that I'm scared. I'm just watching this like, this is unnatural. Like, this movement of these things is unnatural, and I don't like it. And I realize I'm in the minority. I just don't like claymation, stop motion. I don't like any of it. It really...
God. We are getting so many hot takes from you in Krampus. Like, National Lampoons, not for me. Claymation, not for me.
Says the guy in the Krampus episode who doesn't even like Krampus that much.
I like Krampus the creature plenty.
Bobby, I appreciate you being like a mediator for this episode.
Bobby's like, I didn't sign up for this shit.
No, I love it. It's fun.
Okay, so we've got this fantastic animated flashback, and this is basically where we find out that if you lose the Christmas spirit, that is what will get you into trouble. That is when Krampus will come for you. And I do love the darkness. Again, just this hint of darkness that Omi lost her parents in this visit. So it does kind of set the stage that, oh shit, this could be really bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody goes back to bed. Yay.
Like, okay, we're good. So this is when we get to December 24th then.
Correct. Yes. Tom wakes up with a plan. They're going to go for the snowplow. This is how they're going to escape from this. And everybody's like, okay, cool. So you look at that. And meanwhile, the twins are being lured up to the attic by Beth's voice. So Jordan is consumed by Der Klown, the giant jack-in-the-box. And then we get this fantastic cross-cut sequence where basically the entire house is under siege. So we've got Linda, Sarah, and Tom are attacked by toys in the attic. And then in the kitchen, Howard is besieged by a group of gingerbread men armed with a nail gun.
How did you guys feel about the CGI with the gingerbread man?
Oh, I know how Joe feels about it.
It's not my favorite.
Okay.
I'm willing to overlook it, but let's say that in 2015 when I first saw this in the theaters, I was not happy with it.
Okay.
Everybody still there?
I'm here.
Oh, Trace is playing.
Sorry, I was pulling up my my piece of score on my phone. That's the Der Klown theme, by the way.
Yeah, because I can't just put that in post, Trace.
I'm just saying, I was like, oh, I love this score. No, the gingerbread man do look like poo.
Ginger poo?
Yeah, it's ginger poo. But the tone of that sequence, which, granted, I know we're cross-cutting it with the child-eating puppet clown thing.
Yes.
So it's interesting, right? We're getting this like funny, cartoonish, like gingerbread man like fight scene. Which, by the way, one of these gingerbread men is voiced by Seth Green.
Seth Green.
Yeah.
Really weird.
It's actually not that weird if you think about the fact that he's heavily involved in Robot Chicken, aka Claymation.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
True.
But it is weird though because what's happening in the attic actually feels very life-threatening.
Oh, it's terrifying. That angel is deeply unsettling.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It has a child's face to it.
One, I mean, like the clown thing. It's like you can see like the facial muscles when it opens its mouth. It's all red and gooey and sinewy and
so good.
It's really good. I would have loved to see more of it. We do get this like moment of Linda where she's like, "My daughters are being taken away, and I'm gonna be a good mom," and blah blah blah. I think it's like a redemption moment for her that just doesn't really pay off, honestly, because she doesn't get Der Klown. He gets away.
Right. Instead of her talking before she like tried to like attack it, she should have just attacked it.
It's like, stop giving a monologue, just do it.
Exactly. She would have at least saved maybe her daughter if she wouldn't have just talked so damn much. Just do it.
I think this is a really fun sequence. I do agree that the gingerbread men look like shit, but honestly, it's just kind of like the cross-cutting of like the life-threatening to the cartoonish. It does work for me, but I can also see how the cartoonishness of the gingerbread stuff would downplay the seriousness of what's happening in the attic. Because what's happening in the attic, that's the Joe Dante
freaky,
of this movie.
It's scary.
It is.
I just don't think that that's actually the intention. Like, I don't ever get a sense that we're trying to introduce levity to undercut the violence or the horror here. I think that this is just not well executed Shrek-level gingerbread men.
Ooh, that's a harsh burn, but I won't argue with you on that. Because I agree.
I'll be honest, barring the fact that it doesn't look good, I'm still totally engaged. I actually think that this is the film peaking in terms of action.
It is.
For me.
Well, also, Linda stabbing the bear in the eye and you get that green goo come out of the eye. I mean, that's a way around the R rating because it's a green goo and not blood. Like, I do want more of it. And that's the thing. And I can see, Joe, where you're coming from, where it's like, I'm watching this and I'm like, oh, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Keep more of this, please.
Yeah. And then the film doesn't.
It doesn't deliver on it. So I do totally get where you're coming from with this.
That Jack in the Box, though, just made me uncomfortable. It's just, it's
God,
like, cause I know it's a toy.
I'm sorry, his name is Der Klown. Capital D, capital K.
Der Klown.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Der Klown is terrifying. And it just made me so uncomfortable because I know it's not supposed to be alive, like the bear and that angel or whatever, but it's just something about it, like it clapping and just
the clapping is really good.
It just it's so creepy. Like I would literally have nightmares over that thing, over Krampus himself.
Seeing it eat whichever girl it gets, I can't even remember. Did it remind you of Nightmare on Elm Street 3 when Freddy is the worm?
Yes.
Trace is like, no. Trace, you still there?
I'm here.
Now that you say it.
I do get it. What I was actually going for, thinking about, was in Men in Black, whenever the bug eats Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh my god.
And he has like the prongs on his face that like push his feet down his throat.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's a good one, yeah.
It's a really good creature design. I'll agree with you, Bobby. When the action moves downstairs and there's all the vent work and Rosie the dog goes in and then the ceiling collapses in, all of this kind of stuff is actually quite good. But man, seeing that moment where the Klown starts clapping as the dark elves break through the window.
Oh, yes.
Good. It's super freaky and weird.
It's very weird.
That moment is, I think I even put in my notes, like, holy shit, this is like great.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, they're all about to kill everyone, and then boom, like you hear the score kick in, by the way.
Yeah.
No, didn't hear it. So.
And
No, that score was I love that score. It was like this marching and bells.
Yeah,
and
the
just,
drums.
Yeah, the drums,
it's so good.
yeah.
But that visual, I'm glad you mentioned it, because the visual of the Klown like clapping is so sinister and creepy, and it's so good. And honestly, with the exception of Max being dropped into hell, it's the last true moment of horror that I feel from this movie.
Yeah, because even when these dark elves break in at this point, so like the angel and the teddy bear have been taken care of by Aunt Dorothy with a shotgun. Oh, Aunt Dorothy, love you. But then they break in and everybody's just kind of standing there. They're pressed up against the wall. They're freaking out a little bit because obviously the dark elves go after the baby, which again, very uncomfortable and also very 80s.
Oh yeah, that baby is dead.
That baby is gone. They also take Aunt Dorothy, but everybody's just kind of standing there, sort of looking around. And I'm thinking, like, these people would be freaking out.
When they took Aunt Dorothy, I literally chuckled because that sound effect when she flew out.
Yes! No, the sound effect. There's a whew sound effect when she gets taken away. And I'm like, why are you doing this movie? Like, this is supposed to be scary. Like, don't give me that creepy, that kooky sound effect when Aunt Dorothy's taken away.
It's a little Looney Tunes, isn't it?
100%.
I think maybe it's supposed to take away from the
It is.
tension and stuff. It's a little comedic relief right there. And being as though this is coming from Michael Dougherty, with Trick or Treat, he had that same thing going on in that movie. I can see it happening there. I wasn't expecting it, but it was funny to me. I enjoyed it.
No, it is funny, but I think, again, from me personally, I definitely wanted something that was a bit darker. Like, we talk about this a lot, Joe, right? Where it's like, okay, well, the movie on its own terms, like, is it what I want or is it what the movie's trying to do?
Yeah.
And I do think, though, that with this movie, I think Dougherty was compromised because obviously they wanted to make an R-rated movie, but they couldn't because Universal wouldn't distribute it. So they had to agree to it.
But it also seems like they didn't then compromise on, okay, well, if we can't get the R, how are we going to pull it back a little bit? I mean, I know you mentioned Black Christmas dismissively, which, fuck you, because a lot of people really do like that film.
I know.
Which one?
The 2019.
Okay.
It's okay not to like a movie, and it's okay to like a movie. But
yeah, that's fine.
True.
In this case, I kind of get the same impression, like they almost shot it like an R film, but then they couldn't do everything. Right. And as a result, yeah, I can feel the R rating lurking around the edges. And then these moments where the tones just don't quite meet feel a little bit more jarring. Like, I wish it was better balanced, like Trick or Treat.
Could you imagine an R-rated version of this, though, with, like, murder set pieces, with, like, kill scenes with gore?
It would be fucking amazing.
It would be
Chef's kiss.
Awesome.
Klown would be vomiting up one of those twins.
Oh, yes.
And unfortunately, like, we will not get that movie, and that's not the movie we have. And that's where I'm kind of like, okay, well, am I being unfair with this movie because I want that movie? That's why I'm at a 3.5, where I'm like, you know what? I know what I want this movie to be, and it's not that. So as it is, it's fine. But I also do feel Michael Dougherty's hands being like, I want to make this an R-rated movie as he's making it.
He's directing with one hand in front, and then one hand feels like it's being tied behind his back by the studio saying, no R rating.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I wish he was able to do like a director's cut where, get a DVD.
Just fill that in a little bit, right?
Yes, and just have like the R-rated version of Krampus that he always wanted to do. I mean, if Rob Zombie can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, why does Rob Zombie get to do
Moving forward, though, with the score, I will say that, so everyone leaves. Omi stays behind because she's like, I'm going to face down Krampus.
Sure.
The score that kicks in when the chimney starts cracking. It's like this boom, boom, boom. It's such a good like build up to what you're about to see this beast come out, and I do think the reveal of Krampus' face, quote unquote face, is awesome. And with the tongue,
I agree. I absolutely agree. Just how big he is, that face, just everything, that hunch,
the tongue,
just that whole design was amazing.
Yeah, bitch loves to make a entrance.
So, did y'all know that he was wearing a mask? Honestly, I didn't even notice that until someone told me yesterday.
Same. Recently, I found out through the I was watching like the special features and stuff. But when I first seen it, I was like, "Is this really his face?" And just something's off. But then they revealed that he's wearing a mask or a human face or something like that.
Yeah, which is, again, very unsettling. But I think the fact that none of us could figure that out from watching the film, we had to be told or see it in special features, tells me that it doesn't quite work.
Well, because I honestly thought that it was maybe like a weird prosthetic looking thing, but like behind the scenes, right? Like I wasn't watching the movie being like, oh, that's Krampus wearing a Santa mask or whatever. I thought it was just a weird prosthetic that looked really cool. So yes, I agree with you on that, Joe.
Yeah, I don't know what they could have done differently, because I think it would have been silly. You know, I'm thinking of A Christmas Carol, where you typically get the ghost of Christmas future, and it's the hood with the blank vastness black in there, right? So there's no face to it. It's just like you're looking into a gaping abyss. Also the title of Trace's sex tape. But
Sorry, I muted myself because I'm pouring wine, but fuck you.
But I don't think that would have worked here. So I do think that they needed some kind of face. I don't love what they ended up settling on.
But now that I know that it's actually like him wearing a mask or a face, I want to know the origins behind that. Like, whose face is that?
Exactly.
Is that the real Santa Claus face? Like,
he killed Saint Nick?
Yeah, like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a possibility, and I think it's a really cool idea that could have been like investigated in a sequel that we'll never get.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like Krampus went to the Leatherface Ranch and took that face, and then was like, peace out, I gotta go see some kid.
Yeah.
But I do like what Michael Dougherty do with like his characters. I mean, even though Krampus is not technically his, but what he did with this character, and then Sam on Trick or Treat, where they wear these masks, and it's like they're covering up something because obviously they don't want to reveal them true selves. At least with Sam, we see his face, but with Krampus, it was never an opportunity or like a battle where he had to lose his mask or somebody was trying to take it off. So it's still like a mystery of what he looks like.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the climax and when Max faces him down. That could have been an interesting opportunity for Krampus to do a bit of a reveal, right?
Yeah.
But instead, no, he Valentinas it up. No, he wants to keep it on.
Let's move over there then. I do like the reveal because, again, it's a reversal, right? Because you're like, oh, he says, I learned my lesson. I know what I'm doing. Like, please, I take it all back. And you expect Krampus to be like, yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do like that he's like, he just laughs at this kid.
He plays
Then they throw the other lesbian into hell.
Yeah, because at this point, we've lost all the adults. They've been stolen away by the Tremor Screamers.
Yeah, that was like a really rushed way to get rid of them.
Yeah, we lose too many people too quickly, which, again, you're like, okay, oh my gosh, they're dropping like flies, but it doesn't feel like it's accelerating.
Yeah.
I actually feel like the film is slowing down at this point.
I wanted kind of a set piece for each one, but I do like Toni Collette being like, I love you, like, before she, like, because she knows she's about to get pulled under.
Yeah.
I do like that moment. But yes, it's like we lose Adam Scott, we lose Allison Tolman, we lose Toni Collette, like, in the span of 45 seconds to the Tremors/Screamers monsters. And it's just like, all right, that's done.
Yeah. And to me, this is also where it was increasingly poor returns each time somebody got sucked under. I wanted them to be picked up by something else.
You know, I bet in an R-rated version, there would be blood that would just cough up from where they got sucked out.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
There'd be bloody smears in the snow or something.
Yes, I would love that, just to see bloody snow.
Yes.
Just dragged across the floor.
I mean, if you're doing a holiday horror and you're giving me snow and I don't see blood on that snow at some point.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, good point. Blood in the snow's great.
So would that play into our R rating if you even see a little bit of blood?
If it's red, yeah.
I think Black Christmas 2019 actually does some red blood in the snow, which is really effective.
A little bit. Or
maybe it's 2006.
Maybe.
Whatever.
Listeners, let us know. You remember better than we do. Okay, so let's talk about this confrontation. So yeah, Max more or less apologizes twice, and the first time Krampus laughs and throws in Stevie, and then the second time Max apologizes and he gets tossed in the pit.
I wasn't expecting that when I saw this. And I think because of how... No, I don't even know why, honestly. Like, it was just one of those things where I was like, oh, that is at least a dark enough turn where I'm like, okay, well, that's good at least. I would have loved more carnage, but it's still a dark turn where I'm like, I wasn't expecting this from what is essentially a family horror film.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then this all gets, well, let's talk about this. So the final scene is that Max wakes up. It seems like it might have all been a dream. All the members of the family are back. They open gifts. He opens a gift and he gets the same bell from Krampus that he threw away to open that fiery pit in the climax. And everyone seems to remember.
Yeah.
And we get little snippets of dialogue from the last few days. And then we get the cliffhangery kick to the balls where the camera pulls back to reveal that the house is actually inside a snow globe. It's one of many inside Krampus's fiery workshop. And then we got the dark elves who lunge at the screen for one last scare.
All right. So,
Bunch of toys too.
2 readings of this that have come out.
Mm-hmm.
One is, hey, they're trapped in a vicious hell loop, and because Max said I wanted Christmas like it used to be, the whole family is stuck reliving the same Christmas every day in Krampus' snow globe.
Yeah.
Like a purgatory or something.
Yeah, like a
Yes,
Twilight
exactly.
Zone type thing.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is, oh no, they're back to normal and everything's fine. The snow globe is just basically like Krampus' way of,
Watching them.
I'm keeping an eye on these people.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense if you think of the way that Omi talked about how even after her ordeal, she still realized, okay, I've got to keep this Christmas spirit alive, which makes sense when you think about the fact that she's
Right.
baking and all this shit throughout the early parts of the film.
I 100% read this the first way as purgatory.
Me too.
Same here. Because when you look at it, it looks like even a dream sequence because everything just seems so like just cloudy and dreamy. Like it didn't seem.
Oh yeah, there's a
real.
glossy filter over this.
Yeah.
It didn't seem real to me. So I'm like, this has to be like you guys said, like a purgatory, or they're trapped in their own hell and they have to relive this over and over and over again.
And I think I prefer that ending, even if, though, it's so dark that I almost feel like it betrays the tone of the rest of the film, but maybe I'll disagree.
No, I like it because of that. Like, the film took all those risks in killing all these people, and then, to me, it feels like it's going against itself if it just says, oh, no, they're all back, it's okay. It's basically the equivalent of, oh, it was all a dream, and I don't like that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, if we wouldn't have had the whole, like, they remember everything, I would have been fucking pissed. Like, that's a Pokemon the first movie ending for me, and I am like, no.
Yeah, no.
We don't erase everyone's memory.
Don't tell me I just wasted 95 minutes.
But apparently Dougherty's reading of the ending is the happier one, where it's, oh, they're back to normal, Krampus is checking in on them.
It's more seasonally appropriate, I guess.
Yeah, and it's like, I guess it's like teaching them a lesson, like, hey, don't fuck up again, because you know what's going to happen. And it makes sense that why they had that pause and they all just looking, and they you start to hear what happened throughout the days, because they're kind of remembering, like, oh shit, like that happened before, so I can't let this happen again. So we got to remain a fake happy family to keep the spirit alive, you know? But then I also like it the evil way. Like, I like the fact that they have to spend eternity doing this same thing over and over again because they fucked up the first time.
Yes, because they took each other for granted.
Yeah, I much prefer the purgatory ending.
Yeah.
But, you know, listeners, let us know. Which reading of the ending do you subscribe to?
Yeah, darker or lighter.
But then we get the great cut to credits, and then we get Douglas Pipes' Krampus Carol of the Bells, which is super fucking fun.
Good old Advent credits, too.
I love Carol of the Bells, though, and we have this fucking, like, pagan, like, whoop, 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 Krampus, like, going in with it.
Oh, God.
It's so good.
Traces off his
No.
I was about to play it for you guys, but I'll refrain.
Yeah, I'll just play it manually.
Krampus, but it's Carol with a K. Krampus Carol of the Bells.
Oh, cute. Okay.
Anyway.
I like that.
So, final thoughts on Krampus, y'all.
Nope, I got a game.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Yay.
Okay,
like
so
games.
it's not so much a game as I would love to hear your opinion. So as people who have really enjoyed these 2 seasonal entries from Mike Dougherty, say he was going to make a trilogy, what would the other holiday be that you would like him to tackle?
I have an answer, but Bobby, I'll let you go unless you want me to go first.
Ooh, I have to. I would want to see like an Easter.
Okay.
Okay.
Or maybe a St. Patty's, but we have Leprechaun and stuff like that. We don't have enough like Easter or maybe even like Thanksgiving, but I want to go with the Easter route.
Yeah, like Easter feels like an untapped potential, especially considering the religious connotations.
Someone didn't go watch Holidays, the anthology film where there's an evil Easter bunny, but sure.
Yeah, it's one segment of many.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a whole fucking film.
A whole fucking movie.
Anthologies suck, let's move on.
I'll piggyback on that though. No, so my thing was, okay, I want Thanksgiving because we don't have a really good Thanksgiving horror film. I know we have fucking Eli Roth's segment in Grindhouse, and we have Blood Rage, which is a Thanksgiving horror film.
And I just tweeted that yesterday. I was like, I want a real Thanksgiving horror movie.
Yeah. But here's the thing. So you said, oh, St. Patrick's Day, but we have Leprechaun.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind a Leprechaun remake.
But like a serious one?
Yeah, like directed by or like even like a horror comedy in the same vein as Krampus and Trick or Treat, but like done by Dougherty. I feel like he could make a really fun Leprechaun movie.
Okay.
I agree. I think his take on some kind of evil Easter bunny would be amazing, but I also think his take on a comedic Leprechaun, but not quite as comedic as the Leprechaun films have been, would be good.
Yeah,
for sure.
I just feel like people would try to compare it to the OG Leprechaun just because though.
Yeah, for sure.
But the benefit of those movies is that none of them are actually good. So
hold up, Leprechaun 3 is amazing.
No, I know.
I was gonna say you were gonna get hate mail for
Leprechaun 3 is the best of that franchise, and I will 100% agree with you.
Is that the Vegas one?
Yes.
Yeah.
None of them are good though. All right, Joe, you're up.
Okay, so I'm kind of inclined to agree with both of you. My original inclination was St. Patrick's Day as well, but since you've covered on both of those, I would like to see if he could pull something out of New Year's. Because I do feel like that's the other untapped one. I don't love our New Year's horror offerings, and I think it'd be fun to see if we could make something iconic, like an iconic villain out of New Year's.
I like that.
Yeah, like I've seen an attempt with Midnight Kiss from Into the Dark, which I enjoy aspects of it, but that's another conversation. But they are coming out with a new horror film that's supposed to come out this year, I think, or next year.
Oh, do you know the name?
Yeah. I think it's something with time. I forgot. I just know the time title is in it.
We're also forgetting that there is New Year's Evil, and there's also Terror Train, which is a New Year's Eve movie.
Yeah. So, I think something supernatural as opposed to slasher.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, before we announce what we're covering next week, Bobby, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, because normally people are like, oh, I'll just plug my Twitter, but in your case, you've actually got multiple social media
Booby likes it spooky.
No. So rude.
I love
That's exactly what it is. Thank you, Trace. You can find me at Booby Likes It Spooky on YouTube. Nah.
Why are all these MILF videos popping up?
Nah, you can find me Bobby Torrez with a Z, not an S, on Twitter. I recently changed my YouTube to Bobby Likes It Spooky just because I wanted to do something more horror related with my YouTube channel.
Yes. Fantastic.
Yeah, thanks guys. But yeah, I have Bobby Torrez on Twitter, also on Instagram, and Bobby Likes It Spooky on YouTube.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, if you want to get in touch with us, you can reach us on Twitter and Instagram at Horror Queers and join our Facebook Horror Queers group to hang out with other listeners. If you have a moment, please rate and review us on your podcatcher of choice, but Apple Podcasts is always our favorite. And if you want even more Horror Queers content, please support the show by becoming a patron at patreon.com/horrorqueers. We'll, of course, be doing our best and worst horror films of the year for December. We'll have episodes on Brandon Cronenberg's Possessor and Christopher Landon's Freaky. And we'll have an audio commentary on Dial Code Santa Claus, aka the R-rated Home Alone that came out before Home Alone that is currently streaming on Shudder. Joe?
Yes.
We're covering something unusual next week. What is it?
Yeah, so we are keeping it slightly seasonal, but this is more a film that was released during the holiday season and then totally tanked all the way back in 1993. Yes, folks, we are doing a Batman movie, but not the Batman that you thought. We're going to be talking about Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
I'm really excited for this because I've never seen it.
It's really fucking good.
I've only heard amazing things, Joe, so I'll be in your position where it's like you're coming in a movie like hearing it's great and like you don't like it, so like
yeah, probably
that's gonna be me, but it's okay. I'm really excited, and we have a really, really, really fun guest on that too.
Yeah,
Bobby, thank you so much for coming on to this.
No, thank you guys for inviting me. I had a lot of fun, especially to talk about a movie like this. I love it.
Yes. Well, everyone, thank you all for listening, and on that note, we can cross out Krampus.
Yes, and cross out horror queers.
You've made it to the end of another bloody, disgusting podcast. Congratulations. If you like our programming, consider searching for other bloody, disgusting podcasts, such as Creepy, Horror Queers, The Boo Crew, SCP Archives, Nightlight, Margaret's Garden, Nightmare on Film Street, and more.
It was late in the afternoon when the Professor and I took our way towards the east, whence I knew Jonathan was coming.
Jonathan Harker has asked me to note this, as he says he is hardly equal to the task, and he wants an exact record kept.
Dear Madam Mina, I have read your husband's so wonderful diary. Strange and terrible as it is true. I will pledge my life on it.
God preserve my sanity, for to this I am reduced. Safety and the assurance of safety are things of the past.
I am in hopes that I shall see more of you at Castle Dracula.
Listen to Regarding Dracula wherever you listen to podcasts, or find us online at bloody.fm.